I I always call Chris her. I always see her as a lady, but that's the only way that I've ever known her. It's interesting to see when her kids were in town, they call her daddy, and they still have that relationship with her. So Chris kind of defines herself as 50-50, and I think that that's another cool thing about her. She doesn't take offense if you call her a guy or a girl.
Growing up until I was almost 39, 40 years old and I decided to accept who I am and try to figure this out, I was always ashamed of who I was because I felt embarrassed. Why am I, because it didn't seem like a sexual fetish, it wasn't sexual to me, but why am I wanting to wear female clothes? Why am I stealing girls' panties as a young age? Why am I wanting to dress up like a girl? So I was constantly ashamed and embarrassed. It's almost, cross-dressers go through a purging cycle, where it's very similar to an addiction because they thrive on that. They'll dress up, but then they feel ashamed and embarrassed, like this is wrong, I can't do that, and they'll throw everything away. And then turn around within 4, 5, 6 months, they'll start accumulating things again. And I went through that cycle for 30 years almost, where I would steal some clothes, wear them, or go buy some clothes as I got older, even when I lived by myself, and would still throw them away because I feel like this is wrong, I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed of who I am. Well, I was fearful of telling anyone because I didn't completely understand it. I was ashamed of it. I was embarrassed. And I was not prepared to lose everything, which is what I finally came to a point to. And you have to, if you want to truly be yourself, is I came to a point finally 3 years ago that I was prepared to lose everything and everyone in my life to be myself and be happy. And the great thing about that is once you do it, you really find out who loves you for who you are, not for what you look like, not for what you can give them, not for your status in society, but who will truly stand by you and love you for who you are, even when they don't understand it. And that's the blessing that I was given that I never expected, is I found out with my family, my mother, my sister, some of my friends who really love me for me and nothing else. Well, it's hard to complain when you have a good life. I mean, I was very successful at everything that I've done. I had a lot of good friends. I was successful in business. So part of it is you just think, okay, maybe, is that normal? I mean, being transgender, especially back in the 70s, we didn't have role models. We didn't have books. There was not the internet at the time to actually educate myself to know that it was something like this. So I was battling something that it was almost like I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know there was something like this out there. It'd be a lot easier today for a young person who feels like they have transgender issues because Chaz Bono has made such an impact. The internet, it's easy to go look up, why do I like to wear women's clothes? You could type that in and you'll find cross-dresser, which in turn would lead you in a direction to try to figure out who you are much earlier. Well, I started when I was very young, at 6 years old, playing football, and it was a traveling organization. It wasn't one you just signed up for, and I made the team. Played that through 7 years, so I did get into high school, which I played, and I was starting from my freshman year, which is very rare, and I played the toughest position on the field, which is outside linebacker. You have to have speed, agility, and power, and I was very good at that to the point that I was scouted by many colleges and even played professional or semi-professional football right before I graduated college, and it was time to get into the corporate world. Well, growing up being very athletic and into sports, when I started going into therapy, which I was in therapy off and on for almost 10 years because I would go to therapy for a time or two and then I would again, I was ashamed, embarrassed, and I would stop. Part of it is I didn't want to give up everything I had. I mean, I had the American dream. I had the big house and the money and the job and everything you could want. So why don't I just be happy with what I had, because I wasn't happy with myself. And when we would go through therapy, what she would always tell me is, you need to be who you are. Because I would always make up reasons why I couldn't do it. Well, I'm too big to be a girl. Well, said who? There are big girls out there. Well, I like to bodybuild. So do girls like to. There's girl race car drivers. There's girl bodybuilders. You need to be who you are and don't worry about what society thinks you should be. And she taught me a valuable lesson that's helped I carry on my confidence. And what I'm doing today is I'm happy being who I am, not what society thinks I need to be. The hardest thing has been not seeing my children every day. The hardest part is I'd been divorced for 3 years before anyone found out about this.